Hi, I'm Keisha Jackson with the Treehouse Ambassador Board. I'm the president of the board, and my day job, I work with Microsoft, which is very exciting. I work in the commercial partner business there, and I love volunteering with Treehouse, and I'm so excited to be here today with this live experience to come to you on Big Give Wednesday. Um, and so, yeah, we are excited to be here with you. This is my partner in crime for today, Lauren Ross, who is with Treehouse as well. And we are going to have a very exciting conversation with all of you who are joining us live today. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope you're ready.
Yeah. I am Lauren. I'm a launch success coach at Treehouse, and I've been with Treehouse for about 1.5 years. Part of my job is I work with a caseload of about 45 participants, supporting them with their individualized goals related to housing, education, and careers. So Treehouse is really excited with this launch success program because we not only want to see folks graduating high school at the same rate as their peers, but with that transition to adulthood, we also want to see folks making that transition to a living wage job, stable housing, and a post-secondary certificate if that applies to the career they want. Both Keisha and I, like she said, are super excited to be here with you on Facebook Live today. We'll be taking questions from the audience, so you can drop them in the chat, and many of our Treehouse staff are here to support to help make sure that Keisha and I don't lose sight of any of those questions that you post, welcoming folks as you're here to watch. So yeah, I'm just excited to be here with you all today.
Awesome. Thanks for that intro, Lauren. Well, I'm very excited. I know we've been having some conversation about all the exciting things that Treehouse are doing. Sounds like your job is very robust, very full. I'd love to hear more about the youth that you work with, what your day-to-day entails in what I would refer to as the old normal, and what does your job look like now that we are in this time of pandemic and living in a very different space and world, and what does that look like as we're moving towards our new normal?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think definitely there has been like some pretty clear changes with my job with the stay-at-home order and with the pandemic and everything. Prior to COVID-19, I spent a fair amount of my time like driving out to participants, meeting with them in the King County area to work on their goals in person when possible. Sometimes that involved like sitting down and filling out the FAFSA together. For financial aid for college, or reviewing programs at Rent and Tech, or finding something that like they felt super interested in. But now, you know, to stay safe and keep as many people healthy as possible, I am doing a lot more text and phone check-ins, which I still did even prior to the pandemic. But now I'm doing a lot of Zoom calls, FaceTime with participants. They love to see how much I struggle with FaceTime or other things because I am just not super tech savvy, not an iPhone person. So they always get a good chuckle out of that. So part of what I've been doing with participants pretty early on in the pandemic was doing a lot of safety checks, making sure that their living situation was safe. If they had roommates, like were people following the stay-at-home orders? They have enough cleaning supplies, kind of everything to keep themselves safe. And then also just like, you know, has their job been impacted? Do they need help filing for unemployment? What's their financial situation look like while we're waiting for their unemployment claims to start coming through? So one specific participant that I was working with, she is going to college right now. She's in a nursing program, and she is also a parent. So both of her young kids are at home with her, which is totally different than how her life was before all of this. So we've been checking in by text or FaceTime probably every 2 to 3 weeks, checking in how her classes are going, like both how winter quarter finished up and how spring quarter is starting, making sure her financial aid is still coming through. She's going to be applying for the registered nursing program. So talking about any updates or things that are happening with like the adjusted application. And then also like how her and her children are doing in general with all this. So connecting them with food resources, if they're going through their grocery budget a lot faster, finding her a desk to help keep her school supplies like kind of out of reach of her kids. And just helping her like both keep herself and the kids safe while she stays on track for the nursing program.
Yes.
I think we got a question. from
did.
Facebook Live.
We
What's
did.
happening?
Cool. Yeah. So Lindsay from Facebook Live is popping in. Thanks for joining us, Lindsay. And Lindsay's asking you, Lauren, what has surprised you most in your work since we've been working remotely?
Yeah, I think one of the things that has surprised me is just like how creative both staff and my participants are being around like how can we adjust to what life looks like right now. So being really creative in like how they're stretching their budget even farther than normal right now. What kinds of resources we're all looking into to see like how can we meet their needs. And just that like everyone is constantly having ideas for what we can do to kind of shift as, you know, we're something totally different. We're trying to not use the word unprecedented. So just very new and different and uncertain.
Yeah. One thing that popped out to me and when you were sharing about your job was mentioning the FAFSA. And I had a flashback in my mind, and I went back many years to when I was a high school student in Tacoma. I went to Lincoln High School, go Abes. And I just thought about the training I did with my college prep advisors and coaches, and what a powerful experience that was to learn a systemic process and how that was going to help me in my pathway to higher education. And so I, greatly appreciate that as a coach working with these young adults that you are doing that kind of work. What's one thing you find surprising as you're going through like FAFSA training or thinking about like housing and placement and working with the young folks that you work with? What's one thing that stands out from the perspective of, as a young adult, learning these processes and procedures that are very systemic, they're going to help them move forward in their lives?
Yeah, I really appreciate that you brought up like your memory of doing the FAFSA and just like knowing how it's such a systemic piece of the like formal education system, right? So I think both with like education, whether that's a 2 or 4 year college, an apprenticeship program, or even housing, it's recognizing that maybe when my participants were in high school, they weren't necessarily thinking about college. They were focused more on like getting a job and making sure they could like afford to live independently post high school. So, a lot of the times that we're doing FAFSA, this is their first experience doing it, or it's been 2 to 3 years. So just really being excited to like be a resource available to them. Because it's a government application. So there is that sense of like bureaucracy, and there's a lot of steps and phrases that maybe participants aren't used to, a lot of tax language. That I kind of like to nerd out about because I like taxes, but certainly that's not the case for everyone. So yeah, I just think that like recognizing not everyone has like support systems, and certainly that is true for the participants we work with. Youth and foster care just don't necessarily have the same support network that someone who could ask a parent or a family member, or if they're close with mentors from their school. But we're experiencing something a little different here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Keisha, with you on the ambassador board, bringing all your amazing skills and talents to Treehouse, what have you all been thinking about and like brainstorming while we're in this new normal, as many people call it?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. First, shout out to all of my Treehouse Ambassador board members who are joining this Facebook Live. Thanks for being here. Yeah, so, before everything with COVID and this pandemic, we, on the Treehouse Ambassadors Board tab, as we call it, we would meet every month. We have, a post-work monthly meeting where we go through business, and we have presentations from Treehouse staff such as yourself, and then also youth who are a part of the programming as well. And we have conversations around how can we contribute, how can we give back, because truly as the Ambassador Board, our passion and our mission is how are we a volunteer board that is extra energy and promotion in the community around Treehouse and the great mission and the youth that are served through the organization. And so we all have a lot of energy and passion around that. There's about 30 members on the board, and we would also, collaborate as committee members, host events, do different things that are around how do we impact the youth? How do we show up as living examples of how do you navigate a system and continue to build your success step by step? And so that's a lot of the passion that we had in terms of why we joined the board, the work we were doing. Now, post everything that's going on with the pandemic, Like many other organizations, groups, we have shifted to virtual, and we are thinking through how do we still connect with youth and Treehouse staff members in a virtual setting to provide job shadows, to do coaching, mentoring, conversations, so that youth are encouraged during this time, and we can use the technology that we have in order to stay connected, because though we are physically distant, it is so important to still be socially, emotionally, mentally, and in conversation connected. And I think that it's a really great show of support that as an ambassador board, we're showing up as young professionals with one another, having those conversations and thinking, how do we still contribute to Treehouse? And also, how do we bring our everyday jobs into the work we're doing to connect with one another, but also to connect with the youth, to let them know, the Treehouse Ambassador Board is still providing events. We're still providing connections. We are looking into the spring and summertime, thinking around what kind of life series, career mentoring days can we do in a virtual setting to stay connected with the youth, and also bring in our professional skills and expertise to really, connect with the youth and keep them encouraged, while also, of course, 100% being encouraged by their strength, their resiliency, and their, sheer determination to show up every day and to continue on. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think it's definitely one of the things I really appreciate about the ambassador board is that, kind of, as you mentioned, you all have like such varied professional skills. And admittedly, some of the like really exciting career goals that some of my participants have, I just do not always have the knowledge to support them. I have participants who want to start their own businesses, and that is so incredibly exciting to me. And it is a big learning area for me. So I'm always excited to connect with Tab about the different like things you all already know and can speak to our participants about.
Yeah, awesome. I see we're getting a question from Facebook Live from Alex. Alex, thanks for joining us today. And Alex is asking both of us what drew us to become involved with Treehouse. So you lead with that question, Lauren.
Ooh, so one of the reasons I was really excited about the prospect of working at Treehouse was I had been managing an AmeriCorps team for the previous 5 years. And as much as I myself served in AmeriCorps, and it's so important to have that background end that's supporting programs, but I really missed being in direct service, interacting with clients like on a regular basis. And I also just I knew people who worked at Treehouse, and who had just spoken so highly of the organization, not just in terms of what Treehouse does to support youth and families, but also how Treehouse supports their staff. So I was just really drawn to Treehouse for so many different reasons. And then when Launch Success was started, it just felt like a really great fit for me in terms of getting to work with young adults who are making that transition into adulthood. And it's something that all of us need practice and support with. At 30, I'm still working on my own budget and different financial goals I have. So it's exciting to get to see other people go through that process and be there with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love this question. So Alex, thanks for asking this. I originally got involved with Treehouse in 2007 when I was working for another nonprofit organization. It's called College Success Foundation. And I worked there doing work with college students and college graduates and thinking about their career pathways. And one of the population of students that were served were youth who've experienced the foster care system. And so my heart around nonprofit work, mission-based work, and really impacting disenfranchised folks from various backgrounds really started in childhood, but also as a professional grew when I worked in the nonprofit sector. And so I actually worked at that nonprofit for about 5.5 years, working in collaboration with Treehouse and also working in programming within that organization. And that's how I first learned of Treehouse and connected with youth who were benefiting from both nonprofit organizations. And that was really great. And then after I went to grad school at Seattle U, they have a great connection into the Fostering Scholars Program, and really thinking around how do you support youth in care through whatever post-high school career path and education journey that they're on. And so through my graduate school program, one of my dear friends and colleagues was already serving on the Treehouse Ambassadors Board, and she invited me to come and participate on a career panel as part of the Life series that the Ambassador Board hosts. And I got re-engaged with Treehouse and then started volunteering. And then I joined the Ambassador Board about 4 years ago, actually, and have just my heart of service has continued. I moved from working in nonprofit to higher ed. I was at the University of Washington, which also has strong programming around supporting youth in care. And since then, I've transitioned into a career at Microsoft. And as a Microsoft employee, I've been encouraged to see how, as a company, they want to support whatever philanthropic community involvement you have. And so, especially with the financial match, which I'll mention in a few moments here, but it's indicative for me as a person to really have my heart and my energy in mission-based work. And Treehouse as an organization really allows me to engage in the community, to connect with youth who look like me, who are experiencing, whether it's different layers of systemic oppression or trauma, or how do they move through these processes and become successful as young adults. And the fact that Treehouse exists and supports these youth just makes my heart explode in the best of ways every day. So I'm really proud to volunteer with Treehouse, to be on the ambassador board, and to really support this organization with my time, my talent, and my treasure to really give back and to do more for the youth who deserve all the best in their lives and in this world.
Yeah, I love hearing about how like so much of your work has had this like underlying thread of the youth and foster care, both like from your time at College Success Foundation, and then, you know, Seattle U and UW both having programs that support folks in foster care. And then you being with TAB, you know, Treehouse loves you.
Yes.
So yeah, that's really amazing to hear. And I also really appreciate you talking about how like Microsoft with your career now, that they're really there to like support what their employees are interested in philanthropically. Because quite honestly, like Microsoft's ability to match employee gifts is often what helps me connect my participants with some of their funding needs. Right now, I'm having a lot of participants who we have an increased volume of funding requests right now as we're waiting for unemployment assistance to come through, or like I mentioned earlier, folks who are maybe going through their grocery budget a little bit faster, or if they're paying for grocery delivery because they live with at-risk folks. So it's just really exciting because these folks that I work with predominantly don't have a safety net of family members who can Venmo them $100 to help them with groceries. Like Treehouse is their safety net. So we're looking at all the different options. I did a lot of 2019 taxes with folks so that they could get the economic impact statement from the CARES Act. But also, like I said, like, you know, part of GiveBIG and so many of these other things are really what help our participants like meet their grocery needs or get their utilities paid in uncertain times like this.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you mentioned GiveBIG, and this is a perfect, as our time together is coming, you know, to a close in a couple minutes here. I definitely, I'm so excited to participate in GiveBIG today and to make my financial donation to Treehouse, which will be, you know, very significant. I know that there's a match that many people have given today, and the match is, we're, you know, closing in on the match being matched and completed. However, any contributions to Treehouse will be gladly accepted and will go to empower and help youth today. And as I mentioned, as an employee at Microsoft, the organization also matches whatever I give today. And so it's like whatever donation I'm going to make today on GiveBIG will have 3 times the impact. And so I'm so proud to be a donor and supporter of Treehouse and to make my gift today. And I would just encourage any folks who are thinking around giving today, think around your $50 could become 100 with the Treehouse match, and that could become 150 if you work for an employer who is able to match your donation today as well. So really think about that. And then also, if I were talking to a friend or you know, a colleague, I would really encourage them to give the Treehouse for the reasons that Lauren was talking about the youth right now, now more than ever, need this additional support. And organizations like Treehouse are indeed the safety net. And so on this Give Big Wednesday, we have the opportunity to really impact with a $50 donation or whatever amount you are able to give. That will provide groceries, it will provide shelter, it will provide an opportunity for youth to make it through this time and this season, and for Treehouse to continue to have amazing staff members like Lauren in place to help students on once we get to this new normal, continuing with, you know, tax preparation help, continuing with setting up their FAFSA, looking at housing, being able to access a job so that they're able to continue living their life and being encouraged every day. And so if you have the capacity to give, we would so appreciate that today. I think that the youth that are impacted, and you know, there's so many songs written about things like this, but it's like truly the youth are our future. We are living in let me not use that word. We are living in a time where we see that leadership development, healthcare, all these different things that are needed with youth are so important. And in this day and time, we need to train up the leaders of tomorrow through organizations like Treehouse, and it's so significant. So I want to let you all know that there's just under $1,500 remaining in the match. We have raised over $88,000 so far, and just amazing. So thank you to every single person who's given $1 today. Thank you. No matter the amount you've given, the impact will be felt for generations to come. Every dollar you invest in Treehouse, you are investing in the future of our community. You are investing in the future of our business, of our employee workforce. You are investing in those youth who will run the world tomorrow. So, you know, there's all that. So I have a lot of energy and passion coming out here. I'm about to make my donation right now so that my match is part of that less than 1,500 that's remaining. But yeah, with that, Lauren.
Yeah, so similar to Keisha, I was excited to make a gift today as part of Give Big. Again, not only because of the matching funds, but just knowing like what type of impact this has on our youth and families that are supported by Treehouse pretty broadly. So not just the Lunch Success Program, but also Grad Success and advocacy and folks around the state. So whether there's matching funds left when you're seeing this, if you have a little bit of cash to give, that's greatly appreciated. As Keisha said, $1, $5, you know, whatever you can. I'm also going to borrow Keisha's phrase from earlier, you know, whether it's time, talent, or treasure to give, Treehouse loves lots of different options and ways to connect participants. So we're excited to connect with you in some capacity. And thank you again for tuning in today. We super appreciate it. We'll be hosting Facebook Lives every Wednesday and Friday, usually around noon throughout the month of May, with it being Foster Care Awareness Month. And huge shout out to Spencer and Catherine and Shaughnessy and so many of our staff who help support putting these Facebook Lives together. As a staff member who's typically not in this kind of role, I super appreciated all the hard work that they put in to our Facebook Live, and I'm excited to tune into future ones. So thanks, y'all.
Excellent. Thanks everybody for joining us. Take care.